which is yet to turn into an act, but India is thinking of doing it. So those things are also protected best in a blockchain because it cannot be unaltered. So the beauty is that the blockchain here, when you are using, if I am using a blockchain solution for protecting my personal identity, my personal identity will be obfuscated, right? It will just be obfuscated with using a key, which can, a hash, but my data is protected in bunches. So if I have to, I will keep my Aadhaar and all these essential things there. My medical records will be somewhere else, another bunch. And a third bunch will be something else, and you will have these different bunches. So the
He
idea
also
is
have a
is
request.
the file only where you
I want to charge
don't
together.
release the data to one agency that does not require the transaction data. So these are things which are happening.
Next year I'll do the
Realistic,
one,
those
okay?
things are happening. And then I come to the last
Just
one,
one.
voting. Conceivably, another 10 years, Election Commission of India may be thinking of using blockchain metadata as a metadata storage point for voting in elections. Companies are already doing it for their voting systems. And then carbon emission, we are talking of climate change. My interest in blockchains came because of my involvement with climate change. I found that a lot of inventorization is wrong as far as greenhouse gas emissions are concerned. So you have a proper inventorization, your NDCs, as they call it, nationally determined contributions, which India has submitted, all the countries have submitted. You can check for authenticity because it is not easy to play around with that. So multiple uses, and these are the good points about the Ethereum blockchains and related blockchains which work on smart contracts. Now I'll come to limitation. Limitation is Ethereum and Bitcoin blockchains. Ethereum is written. Now they are not scalable. You don't have too many transactions happening in a minute. And therefore, if it is not scalable and only few transactions can be done, then it is bound to have a higher transaction fee. It is bound to have a latency which is very high, and therefore they just don't move well. These two blockchains. So that is one problem. They are not able to scale up. Secondly, unsustainable. You need lots of energy. They call it gas fees. Basically, they are referring to energy use in quantum for mining and other operations. Even verification takes a lot of things. So unsustainable, bad from a climate change point of view. And the third one is that cryptocurrencies were meant to be means of payment. They became too valuable. Therefore, people started speculating on it, speculative motive, as I mentioned. So you are trying to switch between cryptocurrencies. I will offload bitcoins, buy ether, or I will use that to buy maybe Solana's blockchain kind of a thing. And too much of arbitrage between US dollar, Indian rupee, and cryptocurrency. These are not very desirable for the country's macroeconomic stability. So Government of India as well as RBI have a on these issues. Now let me come to abuse further. One is anonymity, so you get into criminal activities, money laundering, all this kind of stuff. And then too much of anonymity of transactions, which means you don't get to know who this guy is who is doing all these transactions. But I will tell you again, there is a misconception here. People think that every blockchain is like that. No. As I told you, the Bitcoin blockchain was supposed to be a very open system. But there are blockchains like Monero where there is no, even the public key is impossible to, to be evaluated by a person. So those are the real privacy, anonymity blockchains which could be creating problems. And then DeFi, which is decentralized financial institution, you don't need an intermediary. So there is no transparency. Where is that money going from? People are just giving flash loans and getting 100% return. 100% return is not even heard from a good money lender of the good old days. So these are some of the areas. But again, I am coming with the good news. A lot of new protocols have come. Sustainability problem. Ethereum is now moved to Ethereum 2. Gas fees have come down. Sustainability issue is done. Scaling up is happening. A lot of new scaled up products are coming now in the third generation. Solana, for instance, is a replacement of Ethereum. Faster, scalable, more transactions. And then you have some other Cardano, for instance. These are all the different blockchains. And Solana has got about 50,000 transactions per second. That's the rate at which they're transacting. Whereas your Bitcoin was running to about something like 4.6 transactions per second. So scaling up is happening. So a lot of changes are happening. So they have these new blockchains most of them have abandoned mining, so that the energy intensity has come down, scalability has been ensured. Transaction fees have also come down. So to say that transaction fee is very high, it is not as great as it is, no, new blockchains are coming to replace. So interoperability. So you have a Ethereum platform will be tied with a Bitcoin platform. A lot of work is happening in this area. So that is the other part. How do you resolve all these problems? Well, cryptocurrency abusers, there's only one way: have regulations which do not hit the technology, but hit the abusive use of cryptocurrencies and tokens. Now, what is a token? Token is the biggest advancement, not even cryptocurrency. Token is the biggest advancement of the blockchain revolution after 2015. And the token is nothing but a representative resource. Starting from the token that you put in a Coca-Cola, vending machine, to nowadays you put your cash. But you can have tokens which serve street lights. For instance, I am doing a project on how to ensure that street light system in Bangalore improves to a system of utility tokens. Then you have more advanced tokens, security tokens, like stablecoin, which has a very bad name. There are a lot of stable coins are supposed to be currencies, which can also be collateralized, and you can get loans on that. So what is that? It is backed by US dollar and other things. But in the US, there is an investigation going on against Tether, which is one of the first stable coin, that they claimed all that, but they did not have it. Right? So these are to be resolved only through regulations. So in India, we have not taken a stand on this, but definitely in the days to come, we will have a stand. But one thing is, in the union budget, there was a mention about digital assets and about taxing them. But just because you announce that something will be taxed, crypto assets will be taxed, it doesn't mean that it is legalized. It is not legalized, but it could be taxed. And then finally, the biggest failure of cryptocurrencies, in one sentence, is unit of account. What is a unit of account? Unit of account means if it is not denominated in any major transaction happening in the world, then it doesn't carry any currency. So it has to turn into an asset. And because of its supply limitations, that's all the more a reason it turns into a speculative asset. So you need regulations. On that note, I come to the end of my presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Damodar. It was a very excellent presentation, and I would say that many of the questions I actually marked not to be asked. I think you have actually answered them in the presentation. I think that's a skill only professors and teachers have, that they answer what the student is going to ask even before this question comes up.
Yeah.
I think, and also I see while you were presenting, I was looking at the question that came up. Many of the questions that came up, you already answered in your presentation.
Oh, really? I didn't realize. I didn't have time. I got carried away by my conversations.
And some of the questions were more also looking at, okay, there is a technology, there's a domain. What do we do? How do we know about it? How do we learn? What sort of a career I can establish there? And I would like to now ask Mr. Santosh, what is the initiative that government is taking in terms of bringing this blockchain from a knowledge standpoint?
Thank you, Mr. Suresh. At the outset, I would like to thank the Hindu for partnering with ICT Academy of Kerala in organizing such a wonderful session. And I also wanted to thank Dr. Damodaran. I think, as you rightly said, has covered the entire gamut of the blockchain technology in 20 minutes time. I will try to make it quick. From a governmental perspective, the question that you asked, governments normally look at 3-4 angles of it. Obviously, first and foremost would be from a policy perspective. What are the things that they can do it? Secondly, from a facilitation perspective, what are the areas in which it can facilitate something like a new technology or new domain or new area of interest? Third would be in terms of implementation projects. So can government itself become an implementation player, and can it implement it into its government schemes and programs, etc. These are the broad 3 levels in which governments look at it. You also asked a sub-question about the career opportunities and things like that. I'll just quickly park that 3 points and then come back to that. From a industry perspective, if you look at it, I think the recent survey says that the future of blockchain technology is going to be around 19 billion in the next 5 years. And 2 days ago, or I think a week ago, NASCOM published that India cost 200 billion in its export in IT. So if you look at it, it's almost 10% of what the overall IT that the world is projecting about blockchain technology. And in terms of the opportunity, right now Indian IT industry is employing currently around 5 million people, which is around 50 lakhs people. And if again I denominate it with 10% of it, next 5 years you have got around 5 lakhs people worth of opportunity in this domain. So that's the kind of opportunity landscape that is being seen in the industry. In fact, from a Kerala government perspective, we started this program 3 years ago as part of a very interesting initiative from Kerala Development and Innovation Strategy Council. This is a specific organization under the Honorable Chief Minister of Kerala, looking at opportunities that are going to storm the world in the future. And KDISC identified that blockchain technology would be perhaps one technology that may storm the world. This was 3 years ago. And we, based on certain understanding of the world that time, even though it was in small pilots, we initiated that part. And under the 3 areas that I mentioned about competency, policy, and projects, we took the lead on the competency side of it. So Kerala government decided that let us build the competencies around this new technology. And when we looked around at blockchain being a new technology during that time, but it also was very interesting to note that in order to learn blockchain as a technology and a domain, you need to have certain other technology base to be able to build. So that is where the government decided that can we not break this into a dual certification program, and then we added, because in order to learn that you need to learn Python, you need to learn HTML, CSS and all those things. So we conceived another certification under the full stack developer, which became the prerequisite for the blockchain technology. So right now the program that my colleague Ruji would explain is a dual certification program with full stack developer and blockchain. Now full stack developer is like the all in all, it's like an all-rounder, if you were to use the term like what we use in cricket, is an all-rounder development for an IT industry. So if you learn full stack, I think the opportunities are numerous. It's still standing as amongst the top 5 technology domains in the IT industry. Very, very current, and it is going to remain as it is. So candidates who are coming in and joining our program are encouraged to take either the full stack developer program. If they feel that is fine for me, they can drop off. But we would urge them to go through this blockchain technology also. So that's the kind of organization in which we are doing. So that's one area. So competency development is one area that government is doing. In fact, at the national level, NIC has come out with a Center of Excellence on Blockchain Technology. So that again is a kind of a competency development and also facilitation services that they have. We hear that Telangana announced its first blockchain district. Hyderabad, they wanted to develop as a blockchain district. So whereby they wanted to promote startups, entrepreneurs and companies to utilize blockchain technology from that place and also consume it as a district. So there the infrastructure, the softwares and all the associated facilities are being planned by the government is what we understand. Right? Dr. Damodaran talked about the property management systems in Karnataka. I think again Karnataka 2 years ago announced, I don't know the progress of the project. They wanted to see if land registration could also be moved on to a blockchain at some stage. Now that digitization has happened, they wanted to see how they can move it into the next stages of it, right? So there are quite a lot of governmental projects that are being built apart from the industry. So there is, what I wanted to convey is that in terms of opportunities, I think there are not just in the industry that is coming up with a lot of solutions. I think government itself as a consumer of this kind of technology is across the country as well as internationally investing quite a lot in these various areas. In fact, in Kerala, we are also under again KDISC. I think there are initiatives, experiments that are being looked upon from the healthcare sector. So there is e-health record creation that is happening right now in Kerala, where the health records are getting digitized. they wanted to see if it can be hooked on through a chain so that it can perhaps be utilized immutably between when they go from private to government. And Damodaran sir highlighted about the insurance and privacy and other mechanisms. So government is trying to see whether that could be one area of interest. In fact, there is another interesting area which is a small pilot that I think as part of the process, the Kerala Blockchain Academy, which was created by the as part of this program, again to provide competencies to the candidates in the state. They were coming out with concepts around, can we use blockchain for managing the blood bank aspects of it, because the purity of blood is something which is very critical, and utilizing the blockchain technology, can we move that into some sort of